Have you ever felt like you're just a passenger in your own mind? Well, today we're diving into something pretty revolutionary, a philosophical technology that's designed to put you right back in the driver's seat. It's called the Kurylonek code, and it's all about giving you total sovereignty over your own inner world. And to get there, we have to start with a question that people have been asking for, well, forever. Why does God ignore us? It's one of those deep, heavy questions about suffering, about silence, about feeling alone in the universe. But here's where the Kurylonek code just flips the whole thing on its head. It says the problem isn't out there somewhere, it's right in here. That sacred realm is your mind. The inhabitants are all your thoughts and feelings. And you're the God who's been ignoring them this whole time.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to diagnose this whole problem of being the ignored God. Then we'll dig into the history and uncover a 3,000-year-old mistake that got us here. After that, we'll actually crack the code itself, see how it stacks up against the heavyweights in a philosophical world war, and finally, show you how to go from just thinking to actually building.
All right, let's jump into part one. Before we can even think about a solution, we have to get a really clear picture of the problem. And the problem is this. Left to its own devices, our mind is basically a chaotic, super noisy construction site. The reason for all that chaos is what this research calls the meatball model. Yeah, you heard that right. It's the idea that our consciousness is just a biological meatball. It sits there, passively taking in data from the world, and then it just spits out this random, uncontrolled, chaotic noise. In this view, you're not the one creating any of it. You're just watching the mess unfold. And this leads to this bizarre state of being suffering gods. We have all this incredible creative power, but we feel totally trapped inside our own kingdom. Why? Because we've been tricked into believing we're just spectators, extras in the movie of our own life, instead of the ones directing the whole show. We ignore our own thoughts because we don't even realize we're supposed to be in charge. Okay, so why? Why do we do this? Why do we automatically fall into that passive spectator role? Well, the argument here is that it's not some personal flaw. It's actually a huge philosophical mistake that we've all inherited over thousands of years. It's called the Plato error. And for basically 3,000 years, Western thought has been teaching us two really sticky ideas that keep us trapped. First, you've got Plato's cave, right? We're told our inner world is just a bunch of flickering shadows, which encourages us to just sit back and watch. And second, we've been taught that having a bunch of different inner voices is a bad thing, that it's pathological, something to be afraid of and stamped out, so we can have one single unified monomind. And this quote just nails it. It makes that ancient philosophical problem feel incredibly personal, doesn't it? For literally thousands of years, we've been taught to be afraid of the very things that live inside our own heads. The chaos we feel, it's not a personal failure. It's a prison we learned to live in. So if we're all stuck in this ancient prison, how in the world do we get out? Well, the answer is the Kurylonek code. And this isn't just another neat idea, it's what's called a philosophical technology, a real practical system for taking back control. And the code stands on three main pillars. First up is the interface, a tool like a speaking mirror that helps you get your thoughts out of your head. Second is the method. This is a totally new way of seeing those thoughts, not as random noise, but as actual characters. And third is the application, the hands-on work of using this method to organize and, settle your inner kingdom. And here it is. This is the heart of the entire system. This raw, intense command is the cracked code, give the voices faces. And then that German word, Körper, which means bodies. This is not a metaphor. This is the core instruction for ending all that internal chaos. So what does give the voices faces actually mean in practice? It means you stop treating your thoughts like these abstract, passive images. Like the general idea of anxiety. Instead, you actively turn them into figures. You personify them. Give that anxiety a face, a body, a personality, something you can actually have a conversation with. But come on, does this dirty philosophy, as it's called, actually work? Or is it just a clever trick? Well, to find out, we've got to put it to the test. Let's see how it holds up when we pit it against the giants of literature, philosophy, and even psychology. Okay, so check out this chart. It's comparing how different authors and thinkers set things up. And here's the key takeaway. While writers like Borges or Calvino make you an observer, a navigator, or sometimes even a victim of their text, Kurylonek's technology is the only one that forces you, the reader, into the role of the main character, the creator, the I. You're not just reading about a world, you are actively building it.
But honestly, the most shocking validation of all doesn't come from literature. It comes from a place you would never expect: clinical psychology. It turns out that this philosophical code, which was developed totally intuitively, is an almost perfect mirror of a cutting-edge, clinically proven therapy model. Just look at this. On the left, you've got the internal family systems model, or IFS, which is a respected form of psychotherapy. It talks about parts of our mind, like exiles that hold trauma. And on the right, Kurylonek's figures, developed in complete isolation. And the parallels are just staggering. Glitchy is the exile, Skippy is the manager, and that wise part, Opa Gadonke, is the core self. It's this incredible, accidental proof from the world of science that this stuff is for real. So what does all this mean for you in the real world? The whole point of this system is designed for one thing: to get you to stop being a passive thinker just lost in abstract worries and become an active builder of your own mind. It's about making philosophy actually useful.
And this electricity bill test just lays it out perfectly. The hobby thinker, who's stuck in that old Plato error, just lies in bed worrying about the idea of the bill. It's this terrifying shadow on the wall. But the builder, using the Kurylonek code, they give the bill a face, legs, and eyes, and literally start talking to it. And what happens? That little figure, which is really just their own inner wisdom, gives them the best possible advice. Hey, stop worrying and go to sleep. One way is useless suffering, the other is useful action. It's that simple.
So the whole point of this, the big takeaway, is that this isn't really about therapy or just feeling a little bit better. The ultimate goal of the Kurylonek code is sovereignty. It's about you finally taking your rightful place as the architect, the ruler, the god in your own machine. And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. After hearing all of this, what role are you going to choose? Are you going to stay a passive spectator in your own mind? Or are you ready to pick up the tools and finally become its architect?